I'd like you all to close your eyes for a moment. And I'd like you to think about New York and whatever associations and experiences you have with this place. Just let them come naturally to your head. All right, you can open your eyes. See, as many different people as there are in this room, that's how many different New Yorks that we could possibly imagine. Each and every one of us have such unique experiences that shape our worldview. But unfortunately, over time, these unique experiences and our worldview can become difficult to see past. And it becomes difficult to see past this personal bubble that we've created. I'd like to, for a moment, invite you to another version of New York, another reality of the place we just imagined a few moments ago. This New York is full of lush green mountains and heavenly sunrises, full of clean air and water, all sprawling with life. This is also, unfortunately, a place where we can see the mark left behind by humans on the land. This New York is a place of a great city, full of culture and diversity, and it's home to the language capital of the world. This is also home to the most billionaires in the world, and as of recently, contrastly, has become home to the country's poorest congressional district in the Bronx. This city is full of towers of human mountains named after freedom and liberty. And just a few miles up from them is an island where people have neither freedom nor liberty, where nearly half the population has been diagnosed with a mental illness, and over 1,000 people are there just awaiting trial for over a year. This is the New York that I've tried to capture, that I've tried to show in my latest work, a film called 5. 5 tells a universal story that takes us from nature to the city, out of the forests, and into the streets. It's a documentary, basically, that shows all 4 seasons in the state of New York throughout one day, sunrise to sunrise. I'd like to take a moment and show you a trailer so that you could paint a better picture in your head of what it's Thanks. So, I officially started working on this project about a year and a half ago, but the seeds to this idea were planted in my mind much, much longer before that. As a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn, and my parents had come here from the former Soviet Union in the 90s, and my mother told me that her only knowledge or experience of New York was a little I Heart NY pin that some American tourists had given to her many years before she would come here. And so from a young age, I remember graffiti-scrawled subways. I remember the Latin American fruit markets where the workers spoke and joked with us in Spanglish. And I remember our Hasidic Jewish neighbors. I remember eating Russian food in Brighton Beach. And I remember walking literally almost everywhere. But the thing that stood out to me most were the summers where our parents would take us away from the noise and commotion of the city, and for a few weeks at a time, we'd get to spend time upstate. And it was at this point, or very early in my life, that I noticed the undeniable difference between nature and city. I saw that in the city, there was no pause to noise, to commotion, to everything. But I saw also that in nature, there was space to think, and fresh air to breathe, and no buildings to block the sunlight from your face. And so I never liked going back. After 13 years or so of living in Brooklyn, my parents realized that it wasn't the safest or healthiest place to raise a family, and so we moved to Long Island. And here I was happy. I had a little bit more nature. We had a backyard, a garden, some chickens, beautiful parks and beaches only a short drive away now. But I found myself missing something now. The monotony of the suburbs left me missing the diversity and liveliness of the city. And it wasn't long before I found myself back here at the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU. And in college, this is my first time spending so much time in Manhattan. And at first, I was truly shocked and amazed at the standard of living I saw in this borough and also at this institution. Because at this point in my life, I'm taking out massive student loans. I'm commuting 3 hours a day back and forth because I can't afford to live in Manhattan. And yet I see a lot of my peers have their tuitions paid for and have nice apartments in Manhattan. And it doesn't seem like they're thinking about whether getting lunch on any given day is a bad financial idea or not. And still, every day on my walk to school, I see people with so much less than I have. And I felt very perplexed being caught between these two extremes, and I didn't know what to make of it. But after a while, that became the norm. For my last year of college, I couldn't keep doing the commute, so me and my friends decided to get a place in Brooklyn. And this is in Bushwick, where I found out firsthand about the modern-day blight of gentrification by somewhat unknowingly being a part of it myself. And you see, I was just another artist looking for a cheap place to live, aren't we all? But I could tell from the looks I got to the locals, I was just another hipster ruining the neighborhood. And when I was signing off the papers for the lease, I could tell to real estaters I was just another reason to hike up rent. And I hated that. I disliked being a part of that. I hated seeing the overpriced coffee shops popping up left and right, just as much as I hated seeing the neglected housing projects that haven't seemed to have changed for the past 20 years. And I hated, most of all, seeing that the greatest city in the world wasn't actually so great because it wasn't for everyone. So all of these different perspectives and experiences were brewing in my head, and I began to realize all the diversity that exists here, geographically, culturally, and economically. And my desire, of course, was to show it all and to share it with you. I understand that there are things in our society that make us very uncomfortable, things that we'd rather turn away from. Or there are things that are so in our face every day, we just tune them out and become numb. For example, how many homeless people do we see on the streets every day? And it's become a common sight that we don't even bat an eye to a person on the ground, another human in need of our help. With this film, I want to sit down and engage the audience so that together we can confront these things that we'd rather turn away from, or that we've become so numb to that we no longer need to. I think, better yet, I know that the power of documentary is that it can inspire empathy, and empathy is the foundation of a better world. In today's hostile political climate, we need to be shown the beauty and richness of cultural diversity so we could celebrate it, so we could spark curiosity and promote tolerance. In a city where property value is held so high above human worth, we need to see what we have to lose when we gentrify entire neighborhoods. And in a time when environmental regulations are being stripped away left and right every single day, we need to show what priceless value lies in these beautiful lands and what could be lost forever if we do not save it. And more importantly, not more importantly, equally as importantly, we need to seriously together bring to light, bring to the surface, and confront the injustice of poverty and homelessness in the wealthiest, if not one of the wealthiest places in the entire world. We cannot afford to continue being numb to things that exist beyond our own personal bubbles. I understand, I know not everyone can drive around a whole state or go to every neighborhood in the city, although I highly encourage it. But let me do the work for you. Let me show you the beauty of these wild lands, but let me also show you how that beauty is jeopardized and how we are destroying and changing it. Let me show you the rich and vibrant culture that exists in this city. But let me also show you the marginalization and neglect of entire communities. Let me take this seemingly familiar place and challenge the way you previously looked at it, in the hope that you pause and think for a moment about what kind of world you want to live in. Thank you.